Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson, a World Alternative Media here, and of course we're joined by author and economic analyst here at WAM, John Sneisen. And as the West tries to make Iran the boogeyman alongside Syria and Russia and China, you know, this crazy attempt to create a global conflict that we've been talking about so much over an alleged attack that would have no benefit for the man in charge, Assad in Syria, total insanity. Now they're trying to blame it on Iran and Russia and try and make them the boogeyman, because for so long the establishment has tried to bring these countries down. CIA documents reveal that going back decades, Pentagon documents going back decades. Folks, it's just getting worse and worse as we talk. I don't know what more to add to it, but there is a story here because Iran's economy is doing really bad. As this CNBC article says, Iran's currency crisis could bring it one step closer to economic collapse. And I don't think any of us are surprised, considering the fact that there is so much tension in the world right now, especially targeting Iran, Syria, Russia, China, and all these other countries in the region that might not go 100% along with the global establishment and might have their little military coalitions, etc. But with that said, a lot of people say, well, Iran doesn't have a quote-unquote Rothschild-controlled central bank or a globally controlled central bank. The problem is they have a central bank. Exactly. John, can you go into this issue?
Well, exactly. They have a central bank, and that's the problem. And of course, we're going to take a look at some numbers here, Josh. And what our numbers are telling us is that the central bank in Iran has been doing a lot of things that a central bank does, which is called devaluations. It had a devaluation around 2003. Yeah. It had a devaluation again around 2014.
If I may just add, John, this chart that you're showing here is a great example of manipulation, because that is so unnatural looking. It's like flat and then straight up and then flat and straight up. It makes no sense.
Yeah, well, that's what's called a currency devaluation. When overnight, suddenly the money, let's say you had $100 in your bank account, well, overnight suddenly becomes, $40, $50, or even $20 worth. So that's what a devaluation works. And just I've had the pleasure of sitting down with people that have gone through, especially in Argentina, a guy that went through several currency devaluations, and he told me exactly what happened. So it's not a good thing when it happens. And of course now it's happened in Iran. They're of course blaming the U.S. and the evil West for all this.
And I will say that there is some factor playing into that, of course, because there are massive sanctions, and an economy isn't going to do well when the whole world is out to get you and saying that there's potential of an attack, the destruction of deals, all these sanctions, etc. That's obviously not going to help the economy. We've seen that recently in Russia, very much so, with the ruble going down significantly. But go on.
Yeah, no, and I'm going to give you some numbers here quickly. And the numbers show, let's just use the number not from the first devaluation in 2003, which we probably should. I can't find that exact number because of the chart is too historical and you got to pay a lot of money to get the service. Now, we're going to use the number for 2003, and that's about 1,250 Rial it was. And now currently it's about 60. So just over 5 years, this should wake up some people. Just over 5 years, their currency has dropped almost 80% in value, 79.16% compared to the black market price right now. So that is a substantial drop. That's a massive drop. Think about if suddenly overnight or over 5 years for that, if your investments drop 80%, that you depend on for your retirements and everything. So you can only imagine what kind of turmoil has happened because of that in Iran. And people are getting fed up everywhere. Doesn't matter where it is. They're fed up against these central banks. Doesn't mean if it's a Rothschild-controlled central bank. A central bank is a central bank. It can print money out of thin air. It doesn't matter if a Rothschild or anybody controls it. No matter who the bozo is that runs the central bank, they can print money out of thin air.
Yeah, and it's centralization under legal tender laws. And look, obviously the Rothschild-controlled central banks that people talk about, I would move a bit further away from just saying it's all Rothschild-controlled. The point is it's all part of a global establishment, global cartel. And of course, that is technically worse. Yeah, it is worse. But I would just add that the whole fundamental reason why these currencies come crashing down is because they are fiat, they are centralized, and they are, forced by legal tender laws. And as we go into so often here at WAM, John, all fiat currencies eventually revert to their true value of zero. They always have, they always will, going back to 1024 AD in China, and Iran is no different. And, I would just add that there's been a lot of attempts to destroy the Iranian government, to destroy the Iranian society for a long time, going back to the Iraq-Iran war, where the Iraq Ba'athist Party was funded and armed by the United States government to go into Iran and caused one of the bloodiest wars in history. Obviously, there's a lot of, the global establishment doesn't like Iran, and there's a reason for that, and we should definitely all be looking into that reason, but it doesn't change the fact that governments are governments and central banks are central banks, and, they will always beget more servitude to them. That's their whole function. So while I'm not saying, Iran is just the biggest boogeyman on the block, we got to do something about it. No, it's just the fact that there are fundamental problems that we need to assess and understand. We have viewers in Iran. I've seen a lot of people on our analytics ticker from Iran. I know there are people there that are watching us. Hopefully their country stays in one piece in the next coming years, because we know that there has been non-stop attempts to destroy Iran, just like we've seen Libya, Iraq, Afghanistan, Yemen, Syria, all these countries destroyed by Western intervention and coups.
Yeah, and historically, Josh, what happens when a country struggles with the value of its currency, they could get attacked very easily because now they're vulnerable and they're really starting to struggle. So who knows? The U.S. might be sitting there, or any intelligence agency is just waiting to use this in a massive devaluation of their currency against, and then try to create turmoil within the country to topple the government. They're very good at this. They've done so many. The economic hitman has talked about that so many times. About how they structure this, coming after any government. Now, of course, again, we say that no government is a good government, and that's stays with this as well. And you see any type of central bank or money printing that have happened throughout history. It doesn't matter who have done it. If it was a private institution, if it was a government. All of them misuse their power because they could print that money out of thin air, Josh, and of course they did. And this is what we're seeing again in Iran. No matter what the sanctions are, no matter what is happening, it's happening.
Yeah, and individuals are individuals. The free market can do everything much better than the government, of course. And just looking at the past invasions and the past attacks and attempted coups of Iran and the media, boogeymen, trying to scare us all about Iran and everything and the nuclear deal and all that. Anyway, it's important to mention, hey, maybe, just maybe, they have a little bit of gold. I mean, we've seen that.
Get some crypto.
Yeah. But I have a feeling hey, if Iran is the big boogeyman on the block that they're trying to say, they might have a bit of a gold reserve.
Well, yeah, and maybe the Fed is looking for some of the gold that they leased out. They can't really get it back because it doesn't exist. Then they got they went to Libya, stole that gold, and then they went to, maybe they want to go into Iran and steal their gold, because I know they have some gold. I think from the numbers that I could find, I couldn't find any official numbers, but about 12 tons it looked like they have.
Yeah, so obviously there is going to, we saw what happened in Libya, we saw what happened in Iraq and so many other countries that had lots of gold, and I'm sure what we will see in the near future in Bahrain, considering they just found a massive oil reserve that's the size of all of Russia's reserve. So just watch out for some democracy, folks. But when it comes down to it, yeah, there should be competing currencies, free markets, no intervention by government and legal tender laws,
or
individuals.
Religion, which you see in the Iranian government, right?
Yeah, rule yourself, folks. And when it comes down to it, it all comes down to you as an individual being financially responsible and stable, self-sustainable, and that is really one of the big secrets to surpassing this massive manipulation by government and central banks. So wrapping it up, John, what's your bottom line?
Well, the bottom line is, again, there's another fatality of the paper currency system. Again, it happened. And of course, this happens, like we've seen so many, me and Josh have covered so many stories throughout the last, months now, no, actually years, and there's been a ton of devaluations already, and nobody's talking about it in the news very much. Nobody's giving a damn about it. But you got to protect yourself. Hold commodities that actually holds value against these fiat paper currencies, because that's gonna, you know, benefit. And hopefully there's a lot of people that held gold in Iran, they wouldn't be you know, scrambling so much.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll continue to cover this issue. Obviously, it's not going away anytime soon. Like I mentioned, all fiat currencies eventually revert to their true value of zero, and the fundamentals are off the table due to the level of manipulation in the monetary system. So we can't put a date on when the crash is going to happen, but it will happen. It's inevitable. It's always happened, and we just have to find ways to get out of it as individuals and not look to coercive collectives to save us, because they depend on our debt servitude. So thanks for going into this with us, John, and until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson and John Sneisen signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth,
Be the change.
Like what you see here, WAM? Don't forget to check the links below. GoFundMe, Patreon. We can't do it without you. Any donation is very much appreciated, especially as we are so overwhelmingly demonetized and censored by YouTube, as the ADL comes in and flags all of our content as hate speech. Also, check our Bitcoin address in the description as well as on the screen for you to scan if you please. And also find us at steemit.com at Josh Sigurdson, the future of social media, where you get paid in the upvote of your post in Steem, the cryptocurrency. And also find us at the Red Pill Expo, which we have a reference link for below in the description and the comments as well. Hosted by G. Edward Griffin, amazing speakers coming out to speak this year. Don't miss it. It's in Spokane, Washington, June 21st to 23rd. We hope to see you there. But until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.